Welcome to the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast. I'm Scott Whitwam, and I have Brian and Gina Kingdeski with me today to talk about goals.
Welcome to the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast with Scott Whitwam, your blueprint to financial abundance. Settle in as we explore the mindset and methods for wealth building through real estate.
Welcome back to the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast. I'm so excited today. I've got Brian and Gina Kingdeski with me today to talk about goals. So talk to me a little bit about what goals are and then how we develop them to get to where you're talking about.
Okay, goals. We've kind of, obviously talked a little bit about that, but, without goals, you think about that big, huge cruise ship that is steered by a little rudder, right? Mm-hmm. So without goals, you don't have that rudder to go through life, and you just drift wherever the wind blows. I'm going to wake up, whatever sounds good, and someone calls and they're like, oh, let's do this, and you have no direction or nothing, and you just go through life like, okay, So, and then again, you get to the end of your life and you're like, man, I've wasted my entire life. So goals, God is very specific about goals. Like I want to kind of read just one passage that I think will be helpful. So it's one of my favorite verses. So I actually have it tattooed on my wrist. So it's Galatians 6, verse 7 through 9. It says, "Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. Whoever sows to the flesh, to please their flesh, from the flesh will reap destruction. Whoever sows to the Spirit, from the Spirit will reap eternal life. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time, we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." So I just wanted to read that because, when we're talking about goals, there's also the, stuff that we go through every day, the little daily disciplines that we do stuff. We just talked about the day discussed and weight and all that stuff. But, when you look at like health and fitness, it's talking about stuff that's easy to do and stuff that's easy not to do. So it's easy to, go to the gym for 20 minutes, but it's also easy not to do. Right. So you reap what you sow. It goes in every area. So if I'm communicating with my wife and I'm communicating nicely, then you get
a nice response.
Yes. But if I'm negative or I'm critical, like I also will reap that.
Right.
So, and that is true in every area. What you put in your mouth is an easy example.
Right.
If I eat the majority of the time healthy, I will tend to be healthy. But if I eat crappy, I will be unhealthy. If I'm very diligent about my savings and I don't want to go to Starbucks and I'm saving $7 a day and I put that away in an account,
right,
that's the same thing. You reap what you sow. So goals, God, Jeremiah 29:11, we've talked about that, the first one. God has a plan for us. He has a purpose for us to prosper us. So goals, written and done correctly, goals are there to guide us, to keep us on track.
Keep us
not coming home and turning on the TV and binging Netflix for 5 hours, which
or scrolling social media.
I've done, or scrolling social media. So, a lot of people spend so much time building up everybody else's life. LeBron James, Michael Jordan, back in the time, we watch all their posts, we buy all their stuff. Why don't people work on themselves that way? You're your own star. You're your own movie star. You're a professional athlete. Work on yourself.
Well, the biggest thing God, you are a star in God's eyes.
Right.
So
Yeah.
why not live that way with the small choices that you make every day in setting those goals?
Well, let me ask you something, Gina, because I think that's a perfect thing. You talked about the small things you do every day. Can you set goals that are like daily goals, weekly goals, monthly goals, or all your goals have to be year, 5 year? I mean,
Well, I think it just depends on the person. I mean, we did yearly goals, but we have specific dates set to those. But I also feel that I think daily we set goals for ourselves. One thing that we've really been working on is the transforming of our mind, the transforming
Right.
from the new and stuff. And so for that, we are trying to make our choices for the day. And this is something that we struggled with last week. We like to serve the homeless. We have it on schedule every Tuesday to go do that. Does it always happen? No.
Right.
Because if we look at our long list of to-do items for the day, we're like, oh, we've got to go this. We've got 7 different houses. We need to film this. We need to do this, and this. By the time 4:30 comes around, we are exhausted. And so even though that was a goal for us, it
Right.
wasn't the highest priority. So in terms of time frame, like, yeah, hey, I should have put that as my highest priority for the day's goal. But I'll let Brian talk a little bit more about how he lists the goals in terms of planning over a specific timeline and everything.
because that would be good. And because one of the things that I could see as a problem, if you aren't highly motivated and highly scheduled, if you go, oh, I got priorities, now all of a sudden gym doesn't become a priority. And that was kind of the thing that brought you to doing goals was your discussed area.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we actually just came up with, we call it a soul calendar.
Our soul calendar.
Okay. So, but to go back to your question you asked Gina, so, goals will have, you'll write them down. I suggest handwriting the goals.
Okay.
There's something with that. They'll have a date behind it. They'll have a why behind it. And then with that goal comes daily disciplines. Okay. So, you picked your 5 major areas of your life, your business, your health and fitness, your spiritual, your relational, your personal development.
okay, hold on for a second.
Yeah.
So you're talking about making goals in every area of your life.
In the big categories, yes.
Right.
So
not just money.
not
Not just your real estate investing.
No.
Yeah, I mean, because here's a big one. A lot of times people think, well, if I just make goals in real estate investing, I'll become a successful real estate investor. But what if the rest of your life is in shambles?
Well, because then you're going to be not balanced, and you're going to start feeling, whether it's an illness or your mental stability is
Right.
not going to be leveled out. So you've got, in our opinion, you should be, distributing those goals almost equally.
So go back over that list again. I stopped you, but kind of go back over that list
Just,
again.
while I'm saying this, just think in your head, how many super wealthy people that that you would want their lives taking away their money. Look at their relationships they have with their kids. Look at the relationships they have with their spouse. Look at their physical appearance. So you have money, but everything else is off balance, right? So yeah, so the way I do the goals, and Gina and I do the goals, is you're going to have a goal, okay, and a goal is not solid unless it has a date behind it. So the goal is, and I have an example that I wrote down. The goal is to build the emergency fund, but we'll get into the details of that. So when do you want to have that emergency fund? By. Why do you want to have that emergency fund? And then what am I going to do every day to get that goal?
Right.
So the biggest thing is the daily disciplines.
Right.
Like that's the magic, right? So, whatever. I'm gonna out of my goal that I want to have, I want to lose 20 pounds. So out of that, that's your goal. When are you going to do it? Why are you going to do it? Well, that's an easy one. Right. Whatever it is, you want to be healthier. You want to be able to play with your kids without getting exhausted. You want to be able to work a full day. You want to be present with your spouse, whatever it is. And so then behind that, the daily discipline is, I'm going to go to the gym 4 or 5 times a week. I am going to, prep my meals, right? So I'm going to cook ground beef, rice, some broccoli, and then I'm going to have it for dinner, and then I'm going to have a couple lunches for the next 2 days, right?
So that frees up time for you to work on those other
Right.
areas as well.
So that's a daily discipline. I'm not going to have fast food. I'm going to cook from home. Cooking from home is fun because if you're married and you have kids, you can get them on it. You can do it together. Hey guys, who wants to cook?
Family event.
Who wants to, like all my kids, like I love cooking and they all know how to cook. Like
Right.
my daughter was 3 years old and she had a big old knife in her hand helping me dice because she's like, how can I help? I'm like, dice those tomatoes.
I only did 33% good in this area.
Yeah.
Well, I just lucked out because I wasn't the greatest cook, but I could still cook. And then I married Brian, and then my kids kind of said, "Mom, did you like totally forget how to cook?"
That's hilarious.
She's a very good cook.
No.
So the daily disciplines are huge. So, if somebody's starting, you're talking about being overwhelmed. So
Right.
pick your 5 areas and then hit those 4 things: the goal, the date, the why, and the daily discipline.
The goal, the date, the why, and the daily discipline.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. The daily discipline is the magic because that gives you the action. So not only do you do that, but then you're reviewing it in the morning, you're posting it on your mirror, you're bringing it to work, and you're closing it with it before
Right.
you go to bed at night. So going to bed at night. So back in the day when we used to have our personal handwritten calendars, the journals,
Daily planners?
Stephen Covey's
Yes.
Right.
daily planners, right? So when you're reading these goals before you go to bed, it does something for you. Okay, when you plan your day before you go to bed, it does something for you. Gina and she'll say, hey, what do you want to work out tomorrow?
I like to know ahead of time. I always say, "What's on the agenda? What's on the agenda?"
But the purpose of that,
Right.
There's science behind it, right? So, we're going to do chest and tries tomorrow, or back and buys, or whatever. Your mind, when you're sleeping, is going to work on fixing and solving problems.
Right.
So the thing about goals, right? When you write them down, right, and they're leaning against the right wall, which means
I want to talk a little bit more about that because I
they're
feel
gonna
strongly.
they're in line with God.
Right.
Right. When you have that stuff happening, there'll be a point in time where just like when you become a parent for the first time, you have no idea what you're doing.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. There's a force.
Right.
What is that force? All of a sudden, I know how to be a parent. I didn't know how to be a parent. I was selfish and I didn't care about being a parent. And then all of a sudden, you're a parent. Well, when you write your goals down, that same force, God, some people, Joe Dispenza, there's all these different guys that call it the universe, which, hey, there may be some. I've read so many books on the universe and that power that's out there. But my power is God. But then I think there is some of that spirit that happens, right?
Right.
So your brain starts figuring out, how am I going to lose 100 pounds if I'm overweight? I don't know. The daily discipline, right? It's just, how do you eat a cow or an elephant? One bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
So, but God gives you that power. But when you're reviewing it, and all of a sudden it's part of your life, the reticular activating system some people talk about. You buy a red car and all of a sudden you see red cars
everywhere.
So that's the power of goals. When you're get the why and the discipline and you're reading them and you're reviewing them, it starts taking effect. So don't get overwhelmed right on day one.
Yeah, so that you guys throw it all in. Now, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Brian talked about make sure that your goals are leaning against the right wall. So
what does that mean?
What does that mean? So for me, and I kind of did a lot of research on this and everything just because this was something that I feel strongly about. I feel like sometimes so many people make these goals. They're like, oh, I need this car. I need this car. And you go back to the why, and going through the why do you really need that? I personally think that it's best if your goals align with the path in front of you that God wants you to walk, they're going to all come together and everything. So, and how do you know if it's a God-given goal or you're walking down that light? we use the Bible for everything. The Bible is our map. Like, we're not sure which way we're going to go and everything, but the Bible, opening it up and reading scripture and everything will give you that guidance, and also just praying. And surrounding yourself once again with people that you trust, that their goals align with yours and that they understand your goals and they hold you accountable and everything. That's really important for me, because I struggle a little bit more with the like the physical monetary ones. Like, on our list is, we want to fix our boat.
Right.
That's one of our goals. Well, the story behind the boat is we bought this boat across the lake from us. It was amazing. I've been looking for this Duffy boat forever. Saw it on OfferUp. What did they want? $1,500. $1,500. So went over there, knocked on their door. Knock, 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 knock. They're like, "Oh, can we buy this boat?" They're like, "Yeah, you can buy it. We got it for $1,000. Okay,
Right.
that's a 30-year-old boat." He's like, "Okay, it just needs some work on it. It should be about,
3 or 4 grand.
Yeah, 3 or 4 grand. That's the quote I got. So we get the boat to our house. Come to find out, it's going to be like over $10,000 to fix this boat.
Like, come on, man.
So we have it on our list.
The two best
of
days
goals.
of a
Buy
boat
it
ownership,
we
the
have
day you
it
buy
on our
the day you
list of
sell it.
goals.
Yeah.
But I have to ask
Right.
myself, does this line up with God's plan?
Right.
But if we go back and we think, well, this is a great opportunity for us to create memories with our family, to spend time together, to enjoy nature. So
Right.
yes, it does kind of align, but we have to make sure that we're not cutting corners so we get that monetary or that, big shiny object type thing. So
Right. So alignment. And so I think it's kind of, with what you guys have both said here, it's kind of important that people that figure out what their real goal is. Okay. So, if it's, okay, I want to get rid of my drinking problem. I want to get off drugs. I want to lose weight. I want to be more successful in business. So the question is, you said this, why?
Yeah.
What is the ultimate goal for doing those things? Why do I want to do those things?
Yeah.
So once you determine your why, now you can align things so that they can get to your why.
Yeah.
You-
And the why should be written out, right? And it should be, when you're doing goals or anything, like, you need to be in solitude. I recommend being out in nature. I recommend taking some time to really
Right.
think about, like what Gina was saying, the why is important, right? So when you're talking about the question, power of goals, I've done goals to where, because the thing is, you come January, you write them down, or whatever. If you're hearing this in October, who cares, right? But I'm telling you, if you write them down and do what we talked about, you will accomplish those things.
Okay.
So that's the
It's
scary
scary.
part.
Now,
Yeah.
can I bring some?
works.
Can I bring some proven statistics into this?
Yeah.
Okay. 1979, Harvard University
He's trying
did a
to.
study of goals and goal setting. They surveyed Harvard students.
Yes, I remember this.
And 10 years later, they went back to those same Harvard students to find out how they had been advancing with their goals. 84% of the class had no goals. And that's the typical person, right? The typical person, they're just flying by the seat of their pants. They have no goals. They just think, que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be.
Wherever the ship goes, it
yeah,
goes.
That's where I'm going.
no rudder on there. That cruise ship is going
there's
along.
no rudder. It's just going wherever. 13% had unwritten goals. So they had goals, but they hadn't written them down. They were just, they were in their mind. They knew what they were, but they hadn't written them down. 3% of the Harvard class had written their goals down, had defined them and made them very clear. Let me read this.
I know exactly where
10
you're
years
going.
later, 3% of the individuals with written goals had a higher net worth than the other 97% combined. To be exact, the 13% with unwritten goals earned twice as much as the 84% with no goals. Even more incredible, the 3% with written goals and plans earned 10 times as much as all of the others put together.
Wow. Well, first of all, that only 3% wrote their goals down and they were going to Harvard. You would think, they're paying
Yeah.
good money there. You would think that more than that would be writing their
Would
goals
write their
down.
goals down.
Yeah.
But this aligns with people that I meet in my coaching programs, people I meet in, whether it's real estate investing, people I meet in church, doesn't matter where I meet them. This is kind of the thing. It's like, well, do you guys have a vision for your life? Well, yeah, we think it's kind of this, we think it's kind of that. They really don't know. They don't have any,
But this is where the day had discussed and goals line up.
Right.
See, and it doesn't have to
Absolutely.
be like I just turned 54, just had a 54th
Yay.
birthday.
Congratulations.
And I can start today.
Right?
You're 19, 20, you can start today. You're 75, you can start today.
Yes.
Like there's always something when you have something to live for and you're working towards something and it's bettering yourself. This is the craziest thing in the world that people will fight this, and there will be pushback on goals, and they won't understand it and they won't ever do it. The 97%, but it's a mystery. But that's why if we could just break it down and simplify it so it's not overwhelming.
Right.
Pick one thing. That's why I was saying if you feel like you're not healthy and you want to do a goal and you want to do the 4 things, the goal, the date, the why, and the daily disciplines, start there, do it for a month, and then let's work on your financing, or let's work on your relationship with your spouse. It's when you focus on it, all of a sudden it comes in light, kind of like we talk about your brain doing it. So I'm going to focus on, I want to have a better relationship with my wife. And like, it's so simple. It's like, I'm going to make her coffee in the morning. I'm going to text her, hey, how's your day? Even though we work together, stuff like that. It's really simple stuff. Easy to do, easy not to do. A book I will recommend. It's not besides the Bible, but it's a good principle on this easy to do, easy not to do. It's called The Slight Edge.
Oh, the Slight Edge.
The Slight Edge, yeah.
Slight Edge, right?
Yeah.
And it talks about those things, easy to do, easy not to do, and they go in every area of your life. But that's been a big book for a big principle in life. But all these books that have been written, they've all copied this book.
Oh, yeah.
That's our map.
We've talked about this, I think, in one of our
nothing
other...
new under the sun.
There's nothing new under the sun, right?
Yeah.
So, listen, I'm really big into goals. I've been my whole life. It's easy to get overwhelmed. It's easy to get distracted, and I get it. And someone listening to this were like, this is too much. So just turn off the TV, sit in your chair with nobody around, and just think about that question of like, hey, I'm 80 and like I'm dying on my deathbed. Like, who do I want there? Like, start thinking. It's your life. You only have one life. Right. Work on your life. It doesn't have to be this big math formula where you're scared and you try and you don't want to try because you're going to fail. There is no failing.
Right.
This is your life.
And if you fall off and you're not doing as well, guess what? There's always tomorrow.
Yeah. So when you figure out your why, you start with the end in mind, and then figure out how you're going to get there. Okay, so we need to start kind of wrapping this up. So
I told you we could talk all day.
Yeah, I know. It's really easy, So, okay, I just want to go over a couple things. So we talked about some of the different areas. I'm going to got what I written down here. So people should think about spiritual goals, their relationship with God, their spiritual condition. So goals in their spiritual area. The second one is in their personal area. For them personally, and that could be their personal relationships, and then family goals. As a family, as you relate to those who are in your family circle and stuff, what do you want your family goals to be? And then health goals. How are you going to be able to make it? And then I've got business and financial goals. Now I know you had some more stuff. So what else would you add to that? And then,
the personal development, right? So I've always heard in 12 months. From now, you will be what you've read and stuff you put in your life. So if you're putting in your life Netflix shows, social media, everybody's highlights, you're watching LeBron, you're looking at his stats all day, whatever, you're going shopping if you're a female and you're just out at the malls and you're looking at Pinterest and what cute outfits you can buy, however you're wasting your time. If you're not reading and you're not going to seminars or growing or like our thing in April, I'm doing 2 plugs now on this. So
yeah, we better be doing it now.
I'm going to be talking about this stuff.
Yes.
Gina's going to be talking about co-living and all that investments, and Scott's going to be talking about a lot of stuff. So, but you are that person a year from now.
Right.
So you could easily waste a year, and it goes like this. And that was the thought I had when I was sitting on the beach watching that guy that was older than me and better shape than me. And I'm like, I don't have to be at a job by 9 a.m. I could be there by 10.
Right.
I have no excuses. Right. But when right here, whoever's listening, you really have no excuses.
Right.
Because we got the same 24 hours. I know you're busy. People say they're busy. I can tell you right now, you're probably not busier than us two, right?
That's right.
Because we're juggling 800,000
Yeah.
balls right now, and I could list them all, right? So you're not busy. You are busy maybe, but you can find time
Right.
for you.
For
It's
those
your
goals,
life.
for those goals to better yourself. That's really what it is. And because when you're better for everyone else around you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, Gina, any last thoughts you have?
No, I mean, I love this. I mean, Brian is very passionate about the goals and writing them down, and just that visual. Even though I'm a female, like I'm very visual, and I like to see them written on the mirror. I like to see them in front of our desk. I like
Right.
for us to work together throughout the day to make sure that we're on track. Hey, how are you doing today? How are you feeling about this? What can I do to help and everything? So we just really feel strongly about goals and just in all areas, just to help make us a better person and take you so you can stop worrying about what you're going to be like when you're dying, but more about living for today.
That's right. Brian, any last thoughts?
Yeah, and I do want to give a little example, but I talked about the slight edge, and then also I want to, like a book on financing is Dave Ramsey,
Right.
Money Makeover. So those are some good, but I do want to give one example about
absolutely.
goals, the date, the why, and the daily discipline. So I had written one down. So we talked about the emergency fund, right? So the goal is save a 3-month emergency fund by June 30th,
Certain date,
2025
right. Yeah.
of $10,000.
Right.
So that's the goal. That's the example. Okay. And then, so you've got the date, the goal, and then here are some daily disciplines or actions, like an
That you
action
can put
plan,
with it,
right?
yeah.
So I'm going to open up a separate savings account. That's one. And these are just examples.
Right.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to automate that savings plan. So each paycheck in that 10,000 by 6 months, I'm going to put in $769. So you're breaking it down
Right. In
strategically,
smaller pieces.
right? And then here's some things that I can do. More actions. I'm going to cancel unnecessary subscriptions. Okay, this is a dumb example, but
No, it's a good
example.
example.
Yes.
If you're online, you probably got subscriptions and stuff you could cancel you're not even using.
yes.
And you don't even know that you're paying for
Yes.
them.
And we talked about this earlier. I'm going to stop eating out. I'm going to cook, and I'm going to meal prep. So that could be with the family and your
Double bonus there.
Yep. I'm going to sell my old car. I'm going to go through my clothes. I'm going to sell some old clothes. I'm going to go through the house and sell and weed out, right? I'm going to work. This is a big one. I'm going to get a part-time job and work a couple days a week
Right.
because I want my emergency fund, right?
Yeah.
The list is endless, and you have to come up with $54 a day. Okay. Here's something radical. Dave Ramsey. I'm going to cancel my cable for a while.
Yeah, my wife and I have done that before.
I've done it before too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Downsize your house. Does it really matter that you live in a big house at the end of the day? When you're in heaven with God, did he look back and, you got a big house, you're
In
going to get
1935, the average
more
size of a
rewards?
house was 800 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, and families survived.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was 5 of us, and we had a single story ranch, but it had a basement, but it was unfinished, meaning you couldn't live in it. It was concrete everywhere. My dad used it for his fishing stuff. So, and we all survived.
And you all survived.
Yeah.
We do.
So those are just some examples, but then the why, you can look at the above. You will see that you have a goal, a date, and a how, which is the daily disciplines to obtain your goal. Now let's look at the why. So the why is important because it puts meaning behind the goal. By having $10,000 emergency fund, what kind of peace of mind would you have? Life happens, emergencies happen, and if you don't have the funds, this could be dangerous.
Absolutely.
Right?
Hot water heater goes out or whatever.
Anything. And another why could be, I want that $10,000. So maybe you can start having the confidence to look for the job that you actually want.
Right.
Right? Or you want to get yourself
Go to school. Start going back to school.
Right.
Get an education.
Or you want to take your real estate investing to the next level.
Oh yeah, or sign up for a coaching program like Scott that you really trust and that you're ready to go and you need somebody who's going to guide you in the right way.
Yeah. So that's just a little example.
That's awesome.
I thought it would be helpful because it just see how you break it down. So that's why I'm saying if you had one goal in every area, And then on the side, you could have those materialistic goals.
Right.
There's nothing wrong
The
with wanting
nothing
a
wrong
car.
with it.
Like, hey, I want a, whatever, red Corvette one day or whatever you want.
Whatever you
or,
want.
it could be something smaller.
Right.
I want to go take my wife to a nice dinner at
Oh, I thought you meant like a
Fleming's.
mini instead of a Corvette. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So, it's important.
Awesome. I want to thank you guys for being on the podcast again today. That's it for this week's podcast on the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast. Thanks for taking time to join us today. I invite you to subscribe today and be part of our growing community. Be sure to leave us a review, and if you have any questions, we'd love to hear from you. You can always find the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you enjoy listening to podcasts. This is Scott Whitwam, and I've been with Brian and Gina Kingdeski. Be sure to join me on our next episode of the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast, where we're wealth building through real estate.